Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Sourdough. Welcome back to it. Hang on one second. Oh, that's actually pretty good. All right. Anyways, welcome back to a bit of a later post-game stream. I had a lot going on Sunday, so I couldn't do it. Try to push it back to today so I can give you guys a better stream. Before I get into it, make sure that you also leave comments in the live chat if you're watching live. And if you're not watching live, make sure to leave them down below in the comments. Anyways, let's just get right into the post game. Obviously, so for this post game, actually, before I get into it, I'm going to be talking about, first of all, our game mainly. And then second of all, I'm going to be previewing the Green Bay game a little bit. Not too much because I'm going to do that for next week. What's good, Dom? So obviously, we won 27-10 against Minnesota. Honestly, I thought I was going to be a lot more stressed out about that game, but I was not. I was pretty relaxed the entire game. I think our team – the only time I wasn't relaxed on that Diggs touchdown, but other than that, I think I was pretty relaxed that game, so that just shows I guess you could call it an easy win, but, I mean, not that easy. I mean, it's a playoff team, so got to prepare for that, got to do everything. So, yeah, but let's just get into the normal routine. Let's just go through everything. Players, keys to the game, positions, everything. So let's start off with quarterback. Starting off with Jimmy G. So now I gotta say, man, Jimmy G, that was not a good game from him. I mean, you don't when your quarterback plays like that, you do not win playoff games. But that just kind of his performance kind of just shows how his performance and that the fact that we won just shows how deep the rest of the team is and how we can really win with any quarterback. Obviously, I'd much rather Jimmy G's like definitely the quarterback I want for this team at this point right now. So, but if for some reason he got hurt, it just shows that we're fine if we don't necessarily need him. But obviously, he's the number one option. But hopefully, if we get back to reality, hopefully he can step up because we're going to need him at some point. I mean, there's going to be some points where the defense falls down, the rest of the offense can't carry. So he's going to have to play a part in help carrying this team, get some more wins because that performance is not going to do, especially when you're playing in these types of games, NFC Championship, Super Bowl. But thankfully, the rest of the team stepped up, and his performance didn't mean too much about the game. All right, running backs. I think they did pretty well, to be honest. I know Coleman, Mostert, they did get hurt at the end. It was a calf cramp for Mostert, elbow for Coleman. They're now fine. They're off the injury report. They did pretty well. Coleman was the hot hand throughout the game. I think he had 2 touchdowns maybe. Mostert didn't do too much, but Coleman was the hot hand throughout the game. It's going to be the same thing for next game. And probably the rest of the postseason. Shanahan's just going to give it to the hot hand, see who's doing well. Matt Breida, though, that was a bit concerning to see him. I think he didn't really play that many snaps, but that late fumble at the end, that's been a lot. He's had a lot of fumbles recently. So I think he fumbled against Atlanta, which was costly. He fumbled against I forget what teams he fumbled against, but I feel like he's had a fair amount of fumbles recently. That was something that should never have been fumbled. So yeah, I think he needs to step it up next time. But hopefully, luckily we have Coleman, Mostert. They're the hot hands, so we can just keep feeding to them. That's what we did, and they stepped up big time. All right, receivers. Sorry, my throat's a bit dry. Receivers did pretty well. Obviously, I think we ran the ball a lot more than we threw, and we did play action when we threw. But obviously, Bourne had some great catches. Again, a bit more inconsistent. But still, he had that touchdown catch. He had some other good leaping catches. He had he was kind of inconsistent. So, but yeah. But other than that, I think knowing him, he had a pretty good game. And then Debo, phenomenal game again. So, yeah, I think Debo played pretty well. I know that time he was fighting for yards. He's always stepped up in a big way ever since the second half of the season. Sanders didn't get that many targets, nor did Kittle. But when they did, they stepped up. They got the targets, and Kittle did a great job run blocking, considering the fact that we had most of our touchdowns were rushing touchdowns. So receivers not that big of a role in the game, but still they did pretty well. Let's talk about Kittle. As I just said, he didn't really do that much except for block. Didn't really get any targets to him. But considering that our running backs did pretty well, I think it's safe to say that he did pretty well. He did the job. Not that many targets, but still, he did the job. He did exactly what we needed. So that's all good. Offensive line, that was a great job by them. I didn't really yeah, I think the offensive line, usually they're like it's a bit of a silent play for them. You don't really get to see if they're doing well or not. You just gotta figure it out by stats and like see how the other team's defense is doing pass rush. But I feel like there wasn't I can't name that many times where Jimmy G got sacked. No, he got sacked once by Hunter, and that was because McGlinchey wasn't set. That's on Garoppolo right there, in my opinion. But other than that, I think they did pretty good job. I mean, run game was good, pass blocking was good. One of my keys to the game was protection. They did exactly that. They didn't let the front seven do that much. Besides that one pick, that's all, again on Jimmy G. But the O line did pretty well. They stepped up big time, and we needed that in a big way. All right, so now let's move on to defense. So D-line, once again, phenomenal. They're always phenomenal. Bosa with a few sacks. By the way, when he was hurt, that scared the crap out of me, but thank God he was okay. And hyping up the crowd, that was funny. But other than that, he had a pretty big game. Armstead had a sack. Buckner had a sack. I think we had 6 sacks this game, which is pretty good. Anthony Zettel, the guy that we acquired from the Bengals via off of waivers, but he was a free agent. We signed him. He had a sack too. I think I was with Solomon Thomas too. Towards the end of the game, didn't matter, but still, it's on the stat sheet. Another sack for us. And then the one guy I really want to talk about is D Ford, who was one of my key players for defense. I think he could really be the X factor of the defense. I mean, without him, we haven't had that many sacks the past few weeks beforehand, and now we got him back. Now he's another threat that these O-lines have to face, and he's stepping up in a big way. Exactly what we need from him. And I think he's going to be that one guy that's going to really take us further in the playoffs. So yeah, D Ford is really kind of you could say he's the X factor of the D line. There's a lot of X factors of the D line, but yeah. So I think D Ford really stepped up in the big way, did exactly what we needed to do. All right, linebacking core, again, a pretty good game. They always have a pretty silent game because there's not much to see from them. But Dre Greenlaw, he had a phenomenal game. Really, it was kind of not noticed too big. Excuse me, something just fell on the floor. Okay, I'll get it later. Anyways, Dre Greenlaw silently had a pretty good game. Not that many passes towards him. No one really targeted him, and when people did, it never really turned out good. Quan Alexander was one of my key players because he was returning from injury and he stepped up. He showed what this defense is all about. He showed that we needed him back. Not the best game from him, not the biggest game from him, I should say, but still a pretty good game, pretty good return for him. He didn't play that much, obviously. That's a smart idea considering, one, we had the lead, two, he's a bit weakened by that injury. So smart move from Shanahan to do that. But yeah, I'm glad to see him back. And then Fred Warner also was one of my key players. And the reason I said that is because he was matched up with Dalvin Cook. I think him, Tart, and Tart I'll get into a bit more, but him, Tart, and the D-line really just stopped Cook all game. So that was one of my key things to do. We had to make them pass. We had to stop Dalvin Cook. And we did just that, and we covered basically everything except for the one play, which was Witherspoon to Diggs. And let's just transition to cornerbacks. Obviously, let's start with Richard Sherman. That was the good player of this game. Obviously had that pick against Thielen, and no one really wanted to target him. And when Cousins challenged him, he stepped up to it and got the pick. So just shows that he's definitely one of the best corners in the game still. So yeah, I think Sherman obviously had a phenomenal game. And then the other cornerback, obviously Witherspoon was horrible. Like, let's just put that out there. He should not be starting on this team anymore. I think that was the last straw for Shanahan. I've been saying he shouldn't be starting for a while, but I guess that was the last straw there. Should have came at least 3 weeks earlier, in my opinion, but it is what it is. I mean, we won out. We got 1 seed. We just won the first playoff game, so it is what it is. But Mosley, man, did he step up in a big way? I think they kept trying to target Mosley, and it didn't really work out for them. Excuse me. I mean, I think there was one stat I saw on that first drive. They got 71 yards. That was a touchdown drive. The next 8 drives, 24 yards combined. So that just shows how they cannot stop our defense with Witherspoon out, because if he was in, they would probably just constantly target him and everything. So, yeah. And then the safeties, as I talked about, Tart really helped stop the rush a lot. He did that. Yes, he did. He got a few tackles in the backfield. He could be one of the reasons why our rush D is so bad without him on the field. I mean, it's a lot better with him on the field. He's definitely one of the better rush D safeties in the league, which is kind of rare to see in my opinion because they're usually covering back. And also the fact that he's a strong safety, I feel like they usually cover back a bit more, but whatever. But yeah, he's been doing a phenomenal job stopping the run. And he's definitely we're really glad, we gotta be glad to have him back because he's definitely an upgrade from Marcel Harris. So yeah. And then let's talk about special teams. Robbie Gold did pretty well. I think he made all his kicks that he was assigned. Wisnowski, you don't really need to talk about the punter that much, but still good punts. And then Mostert with that force getting the recovering that fumble off that punt, that was really fun to see. So yeah. So overall, I think everyone on the defense did pretty well besides Witherspoon, and then offense, I think everyone else kind of carried the team. The running backs really carried. Jimmy G was kind of a bit of a non-factor in this, so hopefully we're going to need him to step it up next game. Speaking of next game, let's get right into that. So obviously next game we're playing the Packers. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Playing the Packers, and we played them week 12 and we clapped them. Let's just put that out there. In my opinion, this is probably the best case scenario besides playing Philly, which probably was never going to happen. But this is the best case scenario for us. And guys, I got to say, like, this is our Super Bowl now. Like, Baltimore's out. That was probably our biggest threat. I think right now our biggest threat is KC. So we'll have to look into that. I mean, yeah, I'll definitely be watching both games, and I'm hoping that we can make the Super Bowl. But anyways, back to the Packers. We can't overlook them, definitely, considering that they're another 13-3 team. I think their last loss was actually against us, but I got to say all their games have been pretty close recently. And they had a close game against teams like Washington, Detroit, Seattle. That was a pretty close game. And so they've been winning, but not by much recently. And I feel like we matched up pretty well against them. I know on offense they have a decent O-line. They have decent O-line. They have like one really good receiver, Adams, and then Aaron Jones leading the rushing game. They have a pretty good rushing game, I will say though. But if everyone can step them that same way, I think we're going to be able to stop that rushing game. Pass game will probably have Sherman on Adams. Worst case scenario, or Mosley, I don't know, but I think both of them are capable of covering Adams. They didn't really do much last time against us. Our defense really stepped up to the challenge against them. Prime time. Hopefully we can do that again. I do think we're definitely a more well-rounded team than them, so that's another advantage. I think they have some flaws in some places. Well, we don't. Also good to note that the last time we played them, no Quan Alexander, no D Ford, and no Joe Staley. Joe Staley is the one I would really want to point out because Zadarius Smith really dominated Justin School in his place. Once Brunskill came in, I think he didn't do much, but still, it's gonna be really helpful to have Joe Staley back. And then as for Quan Alexander and D Ford, Quan, I feel like he wouldn't have made a factor considering that Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw all played really well. That linebacker core did really well. And D Ford, I think Bosa had a pretty good game that game. I'm trying to remember other linemen. DJ Jones is the guy that had a really good game. Unfortunately, he's out. Hopefully, Sheldon Day can really step up. And the other interior linemen can really step up against this Packers D. So, so that's really all I got to say for the Packers. But I'm looking forward to that game. Hopefully we can make the Super Bowl, and hopefully we can get that 6th trophy. As I said before in the pregame, there's no fantasy because I'm not doing fantasy just for Niners. I'm not tracking points. I'm doing just normal fantasy with some friends of mine. And we only have a few select players from the game, so I'm not going to get into that too much. So yeah, so let's also go over the keys of the game. I don't think I really did that too well. So for offense, this is back to the Minnesota game. I don't think I did this too well. But offense, I said we had to protect, and we did that. That's why we won. Defense, make them pass, did that. For the Vikings, offense was to run and protect the quarterback. They did not do that. And on defense, they had a pressure. Did not do that. So I think the keys to the game, we succeeded, Minnesota failed. It was that simple. And then our key players, Jimmy G didn't really step up, didn't matter. I said Mostert, they gave it to Coleman, hot hand to Coleman, so it doesn't really matter. Kittle, good blocker. I really said everyone on offense too. So I think everyone really stepped up in a big way. So let's just go on to defense. D Ford, Quan Alexander, Jaquashi Tart, Fred Warner. I already talked about a lot. But yeah, I think they did pretty well. For the Vikings, I said Dalvin Cook was a key player, did not live up to what he was supposed to do. He got few receptions, but he didn't really get that many yards. That was one of the career. That's definitely a career low game for him. I don't know. Got to check the stat sheets on that, but that's definitely one up there for one of the career low games for him. Adam Thielen I put there because of his ankle injury, but he didn't do that much. Mainly Diggs that got the receptions. Daniil Hunter got that 1 sack, and that's because McGlinchey wasn't set. So, and then there's safeties too. Anthony Harris and Harrison Smith, again, didn't do too much. The only player that really did a lot on defense for them was Eric Kendricks, who got that pick, almost got another one. He was all around the place, I think, but it didn't matter too much as we won the game. And now we're in the NFC Championship. Now we're playing the Packers, and now we have the chance to go to the Super Bowl. All right, so that's going to do it for this. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you next week. Go Niners.